All right, let's talk about one of the biggest headaches in user research. How do you take all that messy, raw data and turn it into something, actually clear? That's what we're going to tackle today.
So, picture this. You've done all the hard work, right? You've run the interviews, you've sent out the surveys, you've watched users do their thing. And now, you're just staring at this absolute mountain of notes, quotes, and data. It feels like you're completely drowning. The big question is, where on earth do you even start?
Well, that's exactly what we're here to do. We're going to walk through a process that helps you transform that total chaos into organized, actionable insights. The kind of insights that actually lead to amazing design.
Okay, so before we can start organizing anything, we've got to understand what we're actually working with. Because, and this is super important, not all user feedback is the same.
And this is a really critical distinction to make. You've got two main types of data. First, there's attitudinal data. That's what people say they do, their opinions, their feelings. Like when someone tells you, oh yeah, I always use the search bar. But then you have behavioral data, which is what they actually do. And let me tell you, that gap, the space between someone saying they use search and the analytics showing they literally never touch it, that's where the real gold is.
Okay, so how do we actually start sorting through all this stuff, both what people say and what they do? We need a tool that's built for this exact kind of mess.
And that tool is called affinity mapping. It sounds fancy, but it's actually a super simple and really powerful way to take all those individual little data points, quotes, observations, whatever, and start grouping them into themes. It's how you finally start to see the patterns emerge from all that noise.
And the process itself is pretty straightforward. Step 1 is just a data dump. Get every single insight onto its own sticky note. Don't filter, just get it all out there. Then you start grouping similar notes together. When you've got a cluster, you give it a name that really captures what it's all about. And then, the last and most important step, you look at each of those groups and ask yourself, what's the real pattern here? What's the user need that's popping out?
So, once all our data is nicely organized into these meaningful clusters, our job changes a little. We're not just sorting anymore. Now we're on the hunt. We're searching for the user's biggest frustrations.
So what is a pain point, really? Think of it as any moment of friction. It could be a barrier, a frustration, a tiny inconvenience. Really, it's anything at all that gets in the way of a user smoothly getting to their goal.
And you can usually hear pain points in your research. They have a very distinct voice. They're those moments when a user sounds stuck or annoyed or just plain defeated. When you hear quotes like these, you know you've found something really important. It's a huge red flag that a part of the experience is just broken.
And these pain points, they come in a few different flavors. You've got your functional ones, where the product is literally not working. Then there are usability points. It works, but it's super confusing. Emotional points are all about how the product makes someone feel, anxious, untrusting. And finally, experience points are when the whole journey is just clunky and inefficient. Knowing these types really helps you figure out what's actually wrong.
Now, being able to write these pain points down clearly is absolutely crucial. You can't just say checkout is bad. That doesn't help anyone. You need a clear structure, something like a user struggles to do this action because of this reason. That gives your team a real, concrete problem they can actually go and solve.
Okay, so identifying the problem, that's half the battle right there. But now for the fun part. Now we get to pivot from talking about problems to exploring possibilities.
And this is where something called an opportunity statement comes in. It is such a powerful way to reframe things. You basically take that really clear pain point you just wrote, and you flip it on its head. You turn it into this positive, forward-looking question that's designed to spark creative ideas.
And here's the pivot in action. Look at the pain point. Users can't find the search bar. It's kind of negative, right? It's a dead end. But then look at the opportunity statement. How might we make the search function more visible and intuitive? See that? It's an open-ended question. That simple little change completely shifts the mindset away from the problem and opens the door for all kinds of solutions. And how might we is probably the most famous format, but it's not the only game in town. You could also frame it as a direct goal, something like, we have an opportunity too. The real key here is just to create a clear, user-focused mission for your team to rally around.
All right, we've come a long way. We've gone from total chaos to organized clusters and from frustrating problems to exciting opportunities. But now we're going to take one last really crucial step. We're going to dig even deeper to understand the real reason a user is doing any of this in the first place.
And this is a framework called Jobs to be Done, or JTBD for short. and it is a total mindset shift. It forces you to stop thinking about your product's features and instead start thinking about the job a user is hiring your product to do. It's all about their ultimate goal.
This classic example explains it perfectly. People don't want a quarter-inch drill, they want a quarter-inch hole, right? No one wakes up excited to buy a drill. They want to hang a picture. The drill is just the tool they hire for that job. And it's the same with our products. Users don't actually want a banking app. What they want is to feel in control of their money. The app is just the tool they hire to get that job done.
And this is how jobs to be done is different from other things you might be used to. A requirement is just a feature. Add a wish list button. A user story gets a little closer to the task. As a user, I want to save an item so I can buy it later. But the job to be done gets to the deep motivation, the real why. When I see something I like, I want to save it so I don't lose track of it. See how it digs into that core human need?
And that's really the most crucial point. Jobs to be done makes you go way beyond the surface-level task. It forces you to understand the fundamental need that's driving everything. And when you can design for that deep why, you end up creating solutions that are so much more powerful.
So there you have it. We've gone all the way from a sea of messy feedback to a really clear understanding of the job your user actually needs done. We've turned chaos into clarity. So the only question left for you is, what job will your user hire you to do?
Like, share, and subscribe.